Hello, hello, hello. Welcome to another video. My name is Ketan. I'm that day-to-day guy. Day-to-day means just taking life day-to-day like everybody else and just making my way in the world. Doing this YouTube malarkey to share some tidbits that have worked for me over the years and just share parts of my life that I want to share with the world. And, you know, it's if you're here for the first time, thank you for watching. And if you're a repeat customer, thank you for supporting the channel. But yeah, this for me has been a few months of just talking to the camera and making some videos, which I've really, really enjoyed. It's more become like a hobby. And the premise of this is if some good comes of it, i.e. somebody's watching and they learn something from what I say, fantastic. On whatever scale that may be, you know, big or small. I'm not really looking to make a career out of this. If something happens, then great. If not, great. I already have a career. But let's dive right in. Today's topic, divisive content online. What do I mean by that? So let's rewind to Christmas. Christmas time, I always hibernate at Christmas. Literally, practically don't leave the house for 2 weeks on end. And I would going down the YouTube rabbit holes. You watch one thing, suggest another, so on and so forth. So some of the stuff I was watching was like, you know, like Karens, mainly in America, kicking up a fuss in a restaurant or, you know, a store, a retail store or something or other. And I got to confess, it was because it was called Karens, they were mostly female. And I was just watching it, you know, getting mildly entertained. And then it went on to other stuff, like I think another channel was about women getting owned. Is that the right terminology to use? By men. And I found it funny because there's a little element of truth to some of the stuff that was being said. However, it was just entertainment to me. But there were times when I was watching it thinking to myself, man, like fucking... It really made me almost have like a slight hatred towards women in that moment. And I obviously caught this feeling and I thought to myself, this is not healthy. Like, this is just entertainment. Why am I feeling this way? So then I thought about it and I thought to myself, you know what? Let's look at the evidence here. This video saying, you know, women are like this. And the fact of the matter is I have more female friends than male friends. And frankly, most of the women I know aren't like that. And it made me think to myself, why am I getting so triggered by this? And I had to make the distinction between the, you know, the saying goes, it's funny because it's true. And while some of the stuff was true, it wasn't a representation of all women. Just like comedy, when you're watching comedy and you watch things and they make fun of a certain demographic or whatever, the intent behind it is just that, comedy. It's just poking fun of somebody, and it's all good. But I felt like some of these videos, the intention of how they were edited and presented wasn't in that kind of way. It was more in a way that it was there to incite hatred towards women. And I thought, And I stopped watching them, basically. Not because I can't, you know, control my own emotions, but I just thought to myself, nah, I don't really want to be watching stuff where I think the intention is malicious, if that makes sense. Anyway, then it got me thinking, what else in our life is like this? And one thing I did in that moment is I did look at the evidence in my life. And I know some people will say, well, you know, women are like that, blah, 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 blah. That's not really the reality. If you take the whole demographic as a whole and look at the percentage of people that are like that. And I had to kind of rationalize that. And I fully believe that all women aren't like that. There's a minority, like a tiny minority that are, as with everything in life. Anyway, as I said, I thought, what else is like this? And on Facebook, there's a real, epidemic. I'm going to use that word because it's quite dramatic, but it bloody well is, of these Chinese-run, Russian-run, whatever, I don't know, whoever not run by British people for sure, these channels which basically put out these old photos. And I love history now, you know, so when I as an adult, I say now because I hated it as a kid, but I love seeing pictures of, places that I've been to and what they used to be like, especially places that I used to go to when I was younger, for example, areas that I grew up in and so on. You see these photos and it's nostalgic. So these photos come up and I would always click on it and I'd like it, I think, great, it was beautiful back then, like just idyllic and so on. And you look in the comment section, oh my Lord, God, it is so like anti-immigrant, anti-Muslim, anti-this, and all the racist, crackhead, can't spell, the irony is like banging on about being English but can't string a sentence together people are out in force. And then that gets me angry. And I became aware of that. So now I try to kind of just skate past those posts and ignore them. Because they go on about certain demographics being a certain way. And again, I know plenty of Muslim people who are just the nicest people. And they bang on about people being on benefits and so on. I know plenty of English people on benefits. In fact, I know more English people. And I'm not saying there's anything wrong with it. We have more English people in this country. So it's amazing when you feed a certain number of people a certain narrative, they're going to believe it. And it's unfortunate because this is what kind of instigates and, hate crimes and so on and so forth to certain demographics. And I don't want to be any part of it. And I don't want it to skew my actual, real life experience. So you've got to be careful when you're out there on social media and media in general, and they're saying that, this demographic is like this. When I was younger, I used to think, council tenants, blah, 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 like people that get benefits, and I used to have a very, negative opinion on them. And yeah, because the media would show us, and they'd show us these videos and these TV shows of people not working, and then you got someone like me, who lost all my property and had to move back in with my parents. I'm thinking to myself, man, these people get free houses. If I want to have a house now, I have to work my arse off and pay for it, and these people are giving it for free. And the thing is, there's a portion of the population who need that help and who need that assistance. Great. And then there's a tiny percentage of people who just abuse that system, and that is just the way of the world. So that demographic isn't, you can't look at that demographic and say everybody who gets benefits is like this, just in the same way you can't say everybody who's Muslim is like this, And then they go on about, the Muslim people being pedophiles and shit. And I'm thinking, Jimmy Savile, hello? Come on. Pedophiles aren't exclusive. You have white pedophiles as well, shit tons of them. So it's such a ludicrous notion that there's one demographic that is fucking up this country, and there's not. If the reality is, we ourselves, the British people, and I'm counting myself in it, we're guilty of doing stupid shit as well. It's not just people that come here from another country. So the point of this video is just don't let the outside world mess up your perception of what is actually real. Look for evidence in your own life. Look for people that in your community or whatever, and see, if this stuff is true or not. And I think you'll find it's not. It's definitely not. So yeah, and you'll have even more of a peace of mind there because watching some of this stuff and reading some of these comments and so on, it really does fuel the anger within, and then you carry that anger around, and it affects everything that you do. It affects your productivity levels and so on. Like if you start worrying about other people and getting a council house or whatever it may be, it stops you from actually being more productive and sorting your own life out. Focus your energy on your own life. I'm not saying don't try to make a difference in your community and don't try and serve your community, but just don't let other people make you hate people. This is the thing. The people that are making you hate the other people, they're the real people to hate. And that's the irony of all this, They're like the super rich. They don't pay taxes and this and that, blah, blah, blah. They're the puppet masters. And I'm also saying, no, there's no need to hate them. That's just the way of the world. But we must understand, and we must not succumb to that tactic and start hating people who are in exactly the same position as us because somebody else is telling us to hate them. That's a very important thing to me, anyway. Everything I'm saying, I always say this is not gospel. This is just my opinion, but it means I have a slightly more peaceful mind, which at my age is kind of nice to have. So, yeah, I think I've said enough for now. So, as always, thank you for watching. Feel free to comment, feel free to debate. If you know me, reach out and we can have a chat about this, because I love talks like this, especially with people that can actually talk and debate without, going off the handle and being racist and whatnot. But I say racist because obviously I am somebody of colour and I'm British, and I am subject to, I have to say, I'm subject to more racism today than I ever have been, which is a real weird thing because you'd think it's getting less and less, but with all this stuff in the media, it actually isn't. But yeah, so thank you for watching, and I will be back next week. Ciao for now. Oh, by the way, subscribe if you want to.